Margaret, the first thing we have to recognise is that there are growing rural areas near the towns, but there are still rapidly declining rural areas away from the towns. And rural policy in recent years seems to be focused more on large towns than it is on the really more remote, more challenging rural areas. And all you have to do is talk to the GA clubs, talk to the local schools, and you see that they're in danger in some places of the schools closing completely. In other cases, it's impossible to put a team together. And we need to recognise the challenges and we need to deal with it. And the first challenge that we get is that planning policy is totally against the traditional rural settlement of rural Ireland. And the establishment made up of academics and administrators seem hell-bent on making it practically impossible, particularly in more scenic rural areas, to build a house for your family. And these are not one-off houses. I've never seen a one-off house. I've seen houses in dispersed rural villages, but not a one-off rural house, because they're all part of a community and are and were the backbone of many rural communities in Ireland. What seems to be happening is they're trying to impose planning policies from Europe with a different settlement history to Ireland. And I have to say I applaud the willingness of Minister Darragh O'Brien to listen on this issue and to take action accordingly. I am not hopeful at all that if they proceed with the rural housing guidelines as were proposed, and as I heard them to be, that we'll be going forward. In fact, I think we're going backwards, and we need to start back at the rural planning framework, which is where the fundamental initial problem lies, and build on that and get proper rural housing guidelines. Unfortunately, there's not enough time here to speak on the various issues. There's one issue I would like to mention here this evening, and that is that 10% of rural houses are still dependent on private sources, wells or private source of water for their water. If you try to connect to an Irish water scheme, they're charging you €300 a metre for a connection. It's absolutely scandalous. And what we need is a scheme like the rural broadband scheme that will bring water to every house in the country and ensure that everybody has access to good quality public water. The next issue I'd like to talk about is roads. Some members of the government seem to think that roads are unnecessary. We need to upgrade our roads to a minimum standard so that they're safe for vehicles, cyclists and cars. And one of the reasons people do not walk on rural roads are because they're totally inadequate. I have to just finally say, I think it's a pity this debate is so short, because in 3 minutes you cannot deal with even a 50th of the issues we need to deal with.